Hey everybody, Samantha here for Thirsty Thursdays. I apologize in advance. This is going to be a quick Thirsty Thursday session because life is just crazy. And so my timeline has gotten like a little bit moved up and I have things to do and people are calling me and I want to get out of my house because I haven't been gone all day because I've been going through like a recent like bad breakup-ish kind of thing. So anyway, today's topic, and I think I finally figured this out on how to get the comments in two places. So bear with me. If you are leaving comments, I'm going to try to like read them out loud and everything, but in two places. So there you go. Okay. So I think I have the live chat here. I think I have the other chat here. I'm hoping that I have both chats up. So if y'all say something, I'll be able to respond. So anyway, Thirsty Thursday subject. Um you only shift to a different frequency. Can you guys hear me though? Are you guys good? Like you guys can hear it, right? Because I have you guys on two different Facebooks and I still have to figure out the YouTube. I think it's on the YouTube, but I still have to look at that. But anyway, today's topic is when is enough in a relationship? So I know we've all heard about like, it takes two people to make a relationship work. Nothing about a relationship is easy. Nothing about love is easy. All of that stuff you see in the movies that, they see each other like at first sight and then all of a sudden they, fall in love and they have like 10 kids and everything's all great. They get married. Like that doesn't really exist in today's society. I've definitely never seen anything like that. All the relationships that I've heard, it's really rocky. And there's a lot of toxic things that go on. There's a lot of trauma that happens in our communities that we carry over to our relationships. Um, there are other factors in the relationships. I know that there are some folks that are really close to their families, and sometimes their families can play a role. I know I've had to deal with dating guys that are like mama's boys, where their moms are just overbearing. And I've even used the term of like, I feel like she's the other woman, like your mom's the other woman. Like it's all cool to be close to your mom and everything and love your mom. But when it's getting to the point where she's just interfering in our relationship, it's really hard. So I think that's a whole nother topic on its own though, honestly. And I know like a ton of women could talk about that. And I'm sure there's men that could also talk about, some women being really close to their moms too and getting too involved in the relationship. So my topic today is when is enough enough? Like when do you know like, okay, I've given it my all. I tried, like when do you know it's enough? Like, is there a certain timeline? Is it a month? Is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? Is it 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20? Like, when is enough of trying? And I can't really give you a numeric value. I can't really give you a timeline on that because I think it depends on every single relationship. And you know your relationship the best. Nobody else can really give you the advice or make any kind of decisions for you. Like you in your relationship, you know the best. Some advice that I can give when you know enough is enough or trying to identify when enough is enough is really thinking to yourself, like, okay, what have I done? What do they want me to do? What do they want from me? And having like these honest conversations, like sitting down with each of your partners and like having each other write a list. Like, what am I expecting from you that you're not giving me? And are you lacking giving me? Like, what are you giving me as well? And like having the conversations, like, okay, you're not doing X, Y, and Z. Why are you not doing X, Y, and Z? What is your timeline to do X, Y, and Z? And that's the only time I really would have a timeline because some people will tell you, like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do that eventually. I'm going to do that eventually. And that's where like a lot of the turmoil builds up and a lot of the anger builds up because this person keeps telling you they're going to do it, but they keep putting it off, next month, next year, this year, like next year, next year. So I think it's reasonable to have expectations with your partner to say like, okay, you haven't had a job in 3 months, like you have another month, 2 months, 3 months to get a job, whatever it is that you think is a fair timeline. And if they're not meeting those goals and they're not meeting those expectations, I feel like that's when it's enough. That's when it's like, okay, we came to these agreements, we came to this contract that we were going to do this, and you're not willing to keep up your side of the bargain. You're still doing X, Y, and Z. Like, this is enough. Like, we had this. So, Nato, I thought you were talking about any newsletters. No, 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 no. So, yeah, I think we need to make sure that we are communicating with our partners. I know a lot of the times, us as women, and I speak for myself especially, sometimes we think our partners are mind readers and they just know what's going on. And I've mentioned this before, like, they should know this, they should know this. Like, don't get upset over all of that. Have clear communication and tell them what you expect from them. And I would even write it down. Like, honestly, with today's technology, y'all can both have like a Google Doc, write it down. Like, this is what the expectations are. This is what I want from you. And like, this is the date that I expect it by. And if they're not living by that, like, you need to learn to walk away. Because unfortunately, a lot of us get into relationships with people that promise the world, like, literally promise the world. But they can't deliver, and they don't intend to deliver. Like, they just want to boost you up, they just want to tell you all these pretty nice things, but they're not really planning on delivering anything to you. So that's where your boundaries have to come in. That's where you have to be clear, like, you do this and then I'm gone, and making sure that you stick to your boundaries and don't fold them. And a friend I was actually talking to earlier, I'm glad she brought this up. It's one of my favorite quotes that I've posted a lot. Maya Angelou actually said this: once somebody shows you who they are, believe them. And I have a problem with that. Like, I will be the first to admit that. It's so funny. In the nonprofit world, in the organizing world, I use it all the time. And if anybody knows me from previous work, I've done a lot of uncovering of informants in our Black, Indigenous, people of color spaces. And I've been able to identify a lot of informants way before other people are, because I use that. I use that term and I see people and how they act. And I'm like, nope, that's informant, that's an agent behavior. Like, they need to go, they're done. And I will cut them off with a quickness, not think twice about it. But however, I've been in relationships. The relationship that I was in recently with the person that is struggling with drug addiction, and he would literally at points tell me, like, I don't want to be with you, I don't want anything to do with you, like, I'm done with you, like, I don't love you. And then, a couple hours later or whatever, he's like, I love you. You're the love of my life. Please don't ever leave me. Everybody leaves me. And then I'm listening to that, but I really should have been listening to the part where he was telling me and what he was showing me by doing that. You don't tell a person you love those kinds of things. And of course there are exceptions when you're in like a heated argument, both of you say things, but there needs to be some boundaries on what is brought up and what is said. So having those clear boundaries, having those communications, and I would say not losing yourself. And that's a big one in relationships. We get into these relationships and we want to be with these people, and we end up losing ourselves. And we end up losing like sight of our goals and sight of what we want and the people that we want to be, and we're lost, and we start becoming dependent on the other person for happiness. And again, I've been there. I have been doing that. I'm currently working through that, of not having my happiness depend on the person that I was with. Like, I'm trying to work through that right now, and it's hard and it's a struggle, but believe me when I say it definitely is possible. So make sure that you're looking for all those little details and be honest. I'm not telling you have to go on social media like me and tell like the whole world, your problems. I know there's a lot of people that are like, Sam, why the hell do you do that? It's so weird. Like, you just broadcast, I've been accused of, like, my ex would tell me like, oh, you just want attention. You just want all these people to look at you. But no, that's not the reason I do it. I do it because I want other people to see what I'm going through, to know that they're not alone. And it works. It works. Like, today I got the phone call from a random friend that I've known for years that I don't really talk to that often, but that person called me and was like, look, I've seen your stuff. I'm going through this and I really just need somebody to talk to. And I was grateful. Like that's what I do these for, is to have these conversations with folks, to try to build these relationships so that you're not feeling so lonely. Because when you get out of one of these kinds of relationships, or you're trying to get out of one of these relationships, the thing that keeps you in it is that loneliness and not being able to talk and feeling like, you have to handle it all on your own. And I know for folks that really view themselves as strong people, as independent people, like we really tend to see that, like, oh, I need to make this work. I need to make this work. This is all on me. I have to make it work because I'm strong enough. And if I just change this, if I just do that, then, I'll make it better. I'll make it better and it'll be better. And that's not always the case. And most of the time that's not the case at all. Like if somebody really wants to be with you and somebody loves you, they're going to try. And they're going to put real effort into it, and there's certain boundaries that they're not going to cross. And again, I know that was like an issue with my own previous relationship, is like he would tell me like, "Oh, well, I did this and I'm trying this and I did that. Like you don't see any of it." And I'm like, "Yeah, those things are good and I'm trying to give you credit for those things, but when you're lashing out and you're calling me out of my name and you're doing all of these things, like that's not okay. So like, yeah, you're making a little bit of progress here, but if you're taking one step forward here, but then you're taking 5 steps back here, that's not healthy and that's not good." And sometimes breaks are just good too. Sometimes taking a break from your significant other, getting out there, being on your own and seeing like, you know, do you really need this person in your life? Are they really a positive contribution to your life, or can you do this stuff on your own? And I believe that you can always do it on your own. Like that is always the answer. You can make it on your own. And I've seen, folks post things before, like saying like you need to be your best by yourself. You need to be able to be happy by yourself before you can be with somebody else, because you can't rely on anybody else for your happiness. And I know that's really hard these days, especially during the pandemic and everything else that's going on. Like it's hard to be alone. I know that I didn't want to be alone during the pandemic. I ended up staying with one of my best friends during the whole pandemic because he was alone and I was alone. And we were just like, okay, we can't do this. We're not attracted. We're not together or anything like that. But like, we're at least going to be like in the same place because the world might end and it's scary and nobody wants to be alone when the world, ends. But again, what I would say is rely a lot on your friends, talk to your friends a lot, have those conversations with them, because they can really help you out. And I want to give a quick shout out to my friends who have been absolutely amazing. Like I cannot stress enough, like literally just planning sleepovers, popping up at my house, yelling at me right now to meet them at the restaurant so we can go eat, yelling at me, reminding me, like my little sister, I love her so much. Like, did you drink water today? Did you eat yet? Are you dressed? Like just things like that. Because when you get out of a bad relationship and you're depressed, you have anxiety, like these basic things that, seem so basic are not basic, and you're not wanting to get out of bed and you're not wanting to do things. So I would also give the advice to make sure you push yourself. I know you don't want to go out, and I've seen so many of my friends, but like push yourself to go out. Like make yourself go out. When your friends invite you, like even if it's not something that you're particularly interested in, push yourself to go. Make sure that you're surrounded by folks, even if it feels weird. And you're going to get those seconds. Like I went out yesterday, I went to an event, and then I went to another thing, and like I felt like so like anxious, and at one point I had like a lot of anxiety, and I'm like, oh my god, there's so many people around, and it was hard to process, but I got through it. So that's my advice to y'all, is make sure that you're really pushing yourself and you're really trying to do more to work on yourself. So again, just to recap, thank you for coming into Thirsty Thursday session. Tomorrow is Food Friday, so we're going to be talking about food. Hopefully, I'm going to do it a little bit earlier in the day because doing the later sessions on weekends does not work for me. Or maybe I'll have some of my friends help me. I've had them help me with some streams before. But yeah, so when is enough enough? Enough is enough when you start losing yourself, when you start being sad, when you start, questioning your sanity. I know that happens a lot in relationships too. Like we start questioning like who we are as people when the other person is being abusive towards us. those kinds of thing. And as usual, if you are a Black, Indigenous person of color and you're struggling with these kind of things, or this topic really resonates with you, feel free to share your stuff in the comment section or message me privately. We can have conversations. Lance Singer says, well, we're only humans learning different factors in life. And that's true. Like, this is all a learning process. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Tomorrow is Food Friday. I am sorry for missing yesterday well, I missed Tuesday, Travel Tips Tuesday, but I'm again trying to get better with this kind of stuff. Trying to get better on like doing everything. So just have some patience with me while I go through this learning process. So I love y'all and have a good night.